every question.
Well,
I've been told that there is no time, and that there's there's only this moment. Could you explain what that means, or is it true?
what is this moment?
Now, and it's also history. I have history in this moment, and I have plans in this moment. But there's this moment. It's all that's here now.
Where are your plans?
They're in the mind. As simple as the history is.
Where is the mind?
The mind is.
What is it? What is it?
Perception, an experience, part of an experience.
What is the mind right now?
It's part of my experience.
Can you point to it? But you say it's part of your experience. How many parts are there to your experience?
I beg your pardon?
How many parts are there to your experience?
I've never really thought of it in those terms, how many parts there are.
Well, at least there is one part, because you said the mind is part of your experience. So then there is some. So I guess if there is a part, there has to be another part. You can't have one part without other parts.
Well, let's make sure I'm defining mind as correctly. Mind is sort of this kind of a clearinghouse of thoughts, and I guess you could break those things. I mean, I could break all these things up that I call mind. Thoughts and memories and perceptions, perspective,
So if you, for example, take a thought, the thought today is Sunday. Is it Sunday?
No, it's Saturday. But
Saturday.
that's okay. That could be a thought. Actually, I've gone through the day thinking that was with that thought.
So when you take this thought, today is Saturday, when you look at that thought, what do you find? I mean, really, what do you find?
Nothing really, because it's Saturday in this moment is meaningless.
So let's take something else, something less meaningless. Let's say we take this table. We say, okay, I see this table. There's this table. We say, okay, so let's look at that. Say that's more concrete. When you look at the table, what do you find?
Furniture, a utility.
I would say that utility, when you look at the table and you say utility, there's a thought that arose that basically the thought is saying this is a functional object. But my question was not what thoughts are arising to you after you look at the table or as a result of looking at the table. I'm asking, when you look at the table, what do you say?
Wooden glass.
Wooden glass. I would propose, just as a suggestion, that when you say wood and glass, you are putting in words a thought that has arisen to you as a subsequence or as a consequence of looking at the table, and the thought that has arisen to you as a consequence of looking at the table is, oh, this is wood and glass. But my question is not what thought is arising to you as a consequence of looking at the table, which is fine. But the question is, when you look at the table, what do you see? Okay, I will propose that as a consequence of looking at the table, there is a thought that is arising to you that says this is a table, and you are sharing with me that thought. But my question is not what thought is arising to you as a consequence of looking at the table. My question is, when you look at the table, what do you see?
I see, well, I see something in front of me. I don't pay much attention to the table.
Well, again, I'm going to propose that you are sharing with me a thought that basically says, I am seeing something in front of me. So there is you and something in front of you, and you're describing to me the thought that is arising to you as a consequence of looking at the table, which is there is something in front of me. But that is not my question. My question is, when you look at the table, what do you see?
I'm thinking, well, I'm having a visual experience. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing. No, is that it?
Well,
What,
you
what,
are
what,
basically describing to me or sharing with me a thought that is arising to you. The thought says, I am having a visual experience. Which is fine, you're sharing with me a thought. But that's again not my question. I am not asking you to share with me thoughts that are arising to you as a consequence of looking at the table. I am asking a direct question. When you look at the table, what do you see? Well, okay. So I think that you follow more or less,
don't, when I
Well,
look at the table,
yes.
I'm having an experience of something out, an experience of something outside of me, something outside of my, that stimulates my thoughts. But that's, yeah,
See, it's very subtle. It's very subtle. There are subtle thoughts that we don't perceive them to be as thoughts. When you say, I'm having an experience, I'm seeing something outside of me, these are thoughts that are arising to you.
I'm having trouble finding the distinction between well, when I look at the table, I have some like history with tables, so that experience is coming forth. So I'm coming up with
history
words.
are thoughts.
Yeah.
The thoughts that arise to you.
Right.
That's what history is. They're thoughts and memories and thoughts. Because what would be a memory of your grandmother without an image or a thought arising of her? There has to be some mentation of your grandmother, and we call that a memory, an image/memory. So if you had experiences of the table and you're trying to share with me all your, somehow trying to synthesize all the experiences to answer the question, when I'm looking at the table, when I look at the table, what do I see? You are basically sharing with me a variety of thoughts, which is fine. I have no issues with that. But I want to bring your attention that you are perceiving thoughts, you are sharing thoughts, and there is a perception of the table that is not a thought, that has nothing to do with thought. And if you conduct this little exercise that we did together on your own in your meditation, eventually you're going to come to, I don't know. When I look at the table, what do I see? I don't know. Because anything that you're going to say, that's for you to see it for yourself, is going to be some mentation. And we take this mentation to be reality. So we say, yeah, I'm seeing a table outside of me. What part of that don't you get? Everybody else agrees with me. What's wrong with you? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if a billion people agree with you. I don't.
When you look at this table, what do you see?
I don't know. In fact, let me put it another way. I never look at a table. In your night dream, when you look at a butterfly, are you looking at a butterfly? What are you looking at? In your night dream, when you're looking at a butterfly, what are you looking at?
I don't know.
You're looking at yourself.
Yeah, myself.
It's yourself. You could say, looking at myself as a form of a butterfly. You could say that. You look at yourself. So, the knowing yourself, there is a knowingness of yourself where there is nothing that is not you. And in fact, one could say that when I'm looking at a table, I'm looking at my perception. I am perceiving my perception. Can you relate with that?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm looking at a table, I'm looking at my perception.
The same as when I look at the butterfly in the dream.
You look at it, right? It's your it's dream. Those images are intimately you, right? So in fact, in this moment, you're perceiving your perception. It's not a butterfly, it's a different image. Do you see the parallel?
Mm-hmm.
That you're actually perceiving your perception right now. And it's okay, there's no problem calling it a table and computer, magazine. It's okay. But
yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah, but well, let's just stay. I don't want to go into yes, because I know that was your question, but time will come to it. To call this perception. Oh well, it's a room, a living room, whatever. Right? It's okay, but what matters is the knowingness, the knowing experientially. It's not a mind knowledge, it's an experiential knowing. I'm perceiving myself. I am that. Because when you're perceiving the butterfly in your night dream, the butterfly is intrinsically you. It can't leave you. As soon as it leaves you, there's no longer the dream of the butterfly. Now it's a pink elephant, or nothing. But it can't actually leave you and be a butterfly outside of you. It can't fly out the window and you wake up and the butterfly is now in the field. No, it's intrinsically you. It can never leave you. It has no existence outside of you. The butterfly in your night dream. How about similarly in this experience of beingness, whatever you call it, in this wakeful experience? Nothing of your experience can get out of you. Try to take something outside of yourself. It's an interesting experiment to run with yourself, to conduct with yourself. Try to take anything out of that you're experiencing out of your experience. Try to remove any part of your experience out of your experience. You can't. Your experiences, everything you're experiencing is intrinsically made out of yourself. It's made out of yourself. It dissolves in you. It doesn't dissolve out of you and become something else. There is never anything that you experience that is outside of you. I'm saying that, but you're welcome to challenge what I'm saying. I'm not attached to what I'm saying. If you feel otherwise, let's talk about it. Do you ever experience anything outside of yourself?
No. You were saying that your perception occurs at zero distance from yourself. Is that how you meant when you were using the phrase zero distance?
Yes, you could absolutely say
so
that.
I'm using that as a contemplation, and
yes.
It really kind of boggles my sense of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
when you realize that anything you perceive, your thoughts, an image, occurs at zero distance from yourself, that has a ramification for who you are.
Absolutely. Well, that has the ramification that there is no objective reality. There is only one reality, what we refer to as I, the noumenon, the self. Because if everything is at zero distance of yourself, of your own knowingness, then it is one and the same.
Yeah, how can you be separate?
Yes.
How can I be separate?
Right. So, but there is the impression that I am here and the table is over there. I think Nolan was mentioning that a minute ago, that I'm perceiving something outside of me. So the contemplation is, how outside of you is it? What is your experience? In your experience, how far outside of you is it? How can you experience something that is outside of you? Logically, it makes no sense. How could you experience something that is away from you, apart from you? Experience means, okay, I'm going to use a relative language, means subject and object meet. For there to be an experience, they have to come together. Then you say, I'm experiencing. This is a relative language because there is really no subject and object. This is just a pedagogical language, just to point. There is no object that you experience. You're always experiencing your experience, including thoughts that say there is an objective world. There is a thought that you may experience, or many of us experience it, if not everyone experiences it, that there is an objective world. That thought is intimate with yourself. It's even the belief in an external objective world. That belief is experienced intimately as your experience. You never experience anything but your experience. How could you experience something else? Something outside of you? The thought that says there is something outside of me, where is that thought? Is it not intimately, quotes unquote, within you? Isn't it intimate with you, that thought? All thoughts are intimate. It's like when you're dreaming and you're thinking of beautiful fields of flowers, poppy and hyacinth. You perceive, you're dreaming of that. You're perceiving those images. You're smelling those smells. You're collecting the bouquets and embracing all these beautiful flowers. In fact, you're experiencing yourself. You're experiencing your images, your perceptions. They're very sweet. Some imagined smells. You're smelling them in your dream. You see, experiencing yourself. You're always experiencing yourself in your dream. It's very, very clear. Well, it can be clear if you reflect about it. In the waking dream, just contemplate. Do you ever experience anything besides your experience? Coming to your question about time. For you to experience time, you have to simultaneously experience before and now, or before and after. When you experience before and after simultaneously, you're experiencing, well, let's not say simultaneously. You have to experience before and experience after. And then you have the impression of time, yes? Because if I'm not experiencing it before, then I cannot speak about time. But because I experienced breakfast this morning, I'm saying, okay, well, now it's later. So there is the impression of time. So the experience of time is connected to your experiencing a previous experience and a subsequent experience. Yes? Yes, and there is a lapse, there is a something called time between the previous experience and the subsequent experience. Yes? It's time. Now, in your experience, do you experience a previous experience and do you experience a subsequent experience? In your experience. So you have to go to your experience, right? So I'm inviting you to go to your experience. Meaning to go to your experience now. I mean, I don't have any other experience. So in your experience, do you experience a subsequent, a prior, thank you, a prior experience and then a subsequent experience? No. So therefore, in your experience, according to what you said, and I believe what you're saying because I agree with you. Otherwise,
I can still be wrong.
but in this case, I agree with you. I agree with you, so we are right. So, in our experience, when we look, okay, we have to look for ourselves, and not, as you are right, not to sort of take somebody else's opinion. We do not experience a prior and this subsequent. So therefore, we do not experience time, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So in our experience, we do not experience time. This is our little experiment. We did a small experiment right now. We realized, oh, okay, we don't experience time. Now, we still know, in spite of this fact that, okay, now we know we don't experience time, that we still feel like some time is passing. We feel time in a way. We feel time. Yes? Now, imagine that in this moment, you are fully satisfied and happy. It's a nice thing to imagine, yes? Huh? It's That's why you come to the satsang, because you know that I'm going to invite you to imagine that you are just perfectly happy. So imagine that you are perfectly happy. There is nothing that's bothering you. You don't want to change anything. You don't want to fix anything. You're perfectly happy. Yes? Imagine you're perfectly happy. It rains, cool. It snows, fine. It's cold, turn on the heat. It's cold, the heat isn't enough, we put on a sweater, whatever. Yes? Imagine that you're perfectly happy and at ease with what's happening. In that moment of happiness, do you experience time? It's a good question. You have to look at that. Look at that. I would say that I don't, but you have to look at that for yourself. But let's imagine that it's raining and I just don't want it to rain. Damn, this don't rain. I want the sunshine. Yes? Yes. It's no longer that happiness that I was mentioning about before. Now the rain, it rains for 2 days. The question is, do you experience time? I would say that you do. You do. You experience time. Darn it, it's been raining all day. 2 days and a half, 2 days, and I hope tomorrow it won't rain. Right? So I'm suggesting that maybe the impression of time that we experience is connected with our forgetting our innate happiness, our innate peace, our innate beingness, our innate tranquility. Yes, our innate openness, our borderless beingness. We're forgetting that, and we are becoming interested in some personal conditions. Okay, I want my life to be like this. Okay, God, you give me Tuesday very good. Let's make sure that the week goes very quickly. I want lots of long Saturdays and Sundays short. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday. I want money. Conditions. Yes, conditions. Conditions. And they're unhappy when we are experiencing time in the way that I remember that experience. I was very unhappy, very unhappy, very unhappy. It's very, very unhappy time. But there is a practical time which has to do with organizing daily activities. That is not a problem. It's functional. It varies from cultures. Different cultures have different ways of looking at it. But overall, we all have agreed that we're going to use this segmentation of sunrise and sunset to function in some orderly way. That's not what we are talking about. That's not a problem, right? That's just, okay, we have 2 hours, and after 2 hours we have an appointment with some friends, so, we keep track of that. Sometimes we lose track of that, no big deal. Okay? It's not the end of the world. Now, is there an absolute time? Because I'm just talking, okay, that on the relative level, there is a time which is the unhappiness and the happiness. That's our experience of time. But it leaves the question, is there maybe an absolute time that has nothing to do with our experience? There could be some time that has nothing to do with our experience, that is not conditional not conditioned by our experience. There could be some universal time.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
No.
Did you get it right?
Did I get it right?
I was going to say that there is eternity. There is eternity, you see.
But eternity isn't time.
Yes, it's right. It's not segmented.
Right.
Yes, it's not segmented. There is eternity as absolute time, if you want to use that language. The eternity of the self, the eternity of beingness. We are this. We are in this eternal beingness. It's sometimes I say it's God's gift to itself. We can recognize the eternal. We can recognize the eternal self, the I, the eternal I, beingness. It's a completely different realm from this, the mind, the realm of perceptions, the realm of phenomenal events, the realm of causality. It's beyond the causal realm. It's like in the night dream, all dream events, all dreams have like a time event to them. You know, they have a time element to them. Is the butterfly, and then I don't know, or then it dissolves. There's a line, and then there's a river. There's a beginning and an end, sort of, to the night mind events, the night dreams. Yes, but you, the dreamer, if the butterfly caterpillar becomes a butterfly and the butterfly dies, it takes 2 years, 4 years, whatever, as a dream. Nothing happens to you, right? You're beyond what is happening in the dream. Yes. So similarly, in what is happening in this waking dream, it is happening at that level, but you are not at that level. You see, you are at the level of the eternity of eternity, but you need to contemplate your beliefs, your belief structure, that you are a man or a woman, that you are born, that you are immortal, that you are a object, a form. You need to contemplate that, to realize that all forms appear to you. How can you be a form when all forms appear to you? Sensations appear to you, thoughts, memories appear to you, bodily sensations appear to you. How could you be something that appears if you are the knower of what appears? You see, you need to contemplate that, and contemplate it, and keep contemplating it. Yes, keep contemplating it. That you are nothing to which something happens. Happenings are at a different level, different dimension than the dimension of the self, than the dimension of truth, of reality. There is a reality. even if this is a dream, there is something that is perceiving this dream right now. There is a reality. And this reality is I perceive, I am perceiving, I am. Yes, yes. When you mistake the reality to be temporal, to be in the realm of the time, in the realm of birth and death, you are suffering the impression of limitation and the impression of mortality unnecessarily. So the journey is the journey to come to understanding, the knowingness of the self, the knowingness of myself. Know thyself, not know what you have been told or learned or conditioned that you are this or that, not borrowed knowledge, not conceptual knowledge, not mind knowledge. Knowingness is direct knowing, the direct knowingness of yourself. Yes, and it is this present moment. In this present moment, there is no such thing as time or me and you, just pure knowingness, pure beingness. There is no distance, there is no one speaking and one listening. It is experience, it is an experience of the self that is beyond words, beyond perceptions, beyond sensations. You are before the word. You are before the thought. Before any mind impression you are. Your question, you are before your question. And then your question arises to you and you say, I have a question. You see, what is this I that has the question? It is the I that perceives the question. So you must have been there before the question arose. Or the question arose simultaneously with your knowingness. Because in fact there isn't really a before, just using pedagogic, this is a pedagogical language. It's a simultaneous arising. All arising arise out of the reality, out of the I, out of the self. Anyways, I went way beyond your question, way beyond your question. So I stopped here.